me ask you a different question, Prasanna. There is this TED talk by a guy called Nirmali Kumar, and the title of the TED talk is India's Invisible Innovation. And then he says a lot of Indian innovation feels invisible because most of our innovation is in B2B. All the captive centers, all the IT services, they're all B2B.
Correct.
When we contrast India and China, because all the innovation that you hear about coming out of China is B2C, right? And, from your Tencent, Alibaba, all of these guys, they're all B2C innovations. And Chinese company, it is twin advantage, large market, protection from the government, and then millions and millions of dollars have been poured into these startups and they've had that run, right? When you contrast that to India, almost no government protection, and perhaps while we all tend to feel that there is abundant amount of capital available in India, I would say once you knock out the first 3 or 4% for the remaining people, I don't think there is capital abundancy or capital surplus. Are we like a poorer version executing, and B2B in some sense also is a low risk kind of a model because you don't go big or go home, you're actually constantly iterating towards your goal. So in some sense, when we contrast India and China, is that why we favor B2B and we have a clutch of B2C? Will we ever see all of this spill over into B2C? And then, because when there is a slight difference between B2B, yes, creates steady revenues, but it doesn't create outsized outcomes, right? You don't get $16-17 billion exits like Flipkart did. That possibly happens once in 2 decades, given the context that we have. So are we doomed to be stuck in this sort of I will coin a new phrase, Hindu model of startup innovation, be in B2B forever?
So, very simple question for you. Out of that $16 billion, how much did the founders get?
I think Sachin Bansal made upwards of $1 billion, right?
Yeah, so a couple of founders made $2 billion.
Right.
Let's say all the employees put together, I heard differing numbers between 200 million to $1 billion. So 3 billion was what they made.
Right.
As founders with that high risk, right? Now, look at One Freshworks.
Right.
Their valuation is at 3 billion.
Right.
Right, and let's say it goes up to 5 or 10 or whatever it is. Now all bets are off, but you can imagine that it would be in that range because they were still growing fast pre-COVID. Right now, I can guarantee you that the ownership of the founders in a Freshworks is nowhere near as diluted as it was in a Flipkart. I'll give you another example. Zoho.
Okay.
Right, they have 500 million in revenue. By any multiple, right? It's probably worth between 5 billion to 10 billion.
Right.
How much do the founders own?
But Zoho is an outlier, isn't it? We have a lot of B2B, but we should be increasing the possibility of having more Flipkarts, more B2C. So,
why Flipkart? Why I don't understand why Flipkart.
Not Flipkart per se. I'm saying B2C companies, not necessarily.
Why?
They create outsized valuations, isn't it? They change the dynamics of a domestic market as well in terms of the amount of things that happen in the market.
So, which is the if you look at I think these are all very different things, right? I don't think that has anything to do with B2B versus B2C, right? Will a Zoho list in India, or will a Freshworks list in India? That has much more to do with this Indian policies and the Indian market multiples than anything else. Would a Flipkart have listed in India? It wouldn't have listed in India. Right? So, and where did the value go? That 16 billion you're talking about created value. Out of that 16 billion, 14 billion or 12 billion went to VCs who invested from Mauritius, right? Or SoftBank or whoever, right? So, you're mixing up multiple things, right? So, the way I look at it is, I want 10,000 employees in India to each earn $1 million. And then they can then do their own startups, right? And they will create.
That's a way better outcome than one Flipkart, you're saying.
Absolutely, right? Flipkart created supposedly 200 million, right? But I'll give you an example of an exit that happened at $50 million without naming which startup. Let's say it happened at $50 million. And at $50 million, there were about 5 or 7 people who became millionaires. Now, $50 million exit is 1,000 times more likely than a $17 billion exit. There are 3,000 exits in the US every year, which are $50 million versus only 100 exits above 100 million, right? So now imagine that each of those 50 million exits is creating 5 or 10 millionaires. Which one is better for India?